Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Going Zero Waste YouTube channel. I don't know, that sounded just so cheesy. Anyways, today we're going to be talking all about 5 easy zero waste swaps for the kitchen. Zero waste swaps for the kitchen. God. Oh man, it's a really rainy day today, and I thought what better than to snuggle up with a nice cup of tea. And it's pretty much no secret that I absolutely love my French press for everything. You can of course use it to make coffee. I really like to make it for tea, and I think it is just a great addition to a zero waste kitchen because it eliminates the use for filters. Even if you do have a reusable filter, there's nothing wrong with that if that's your preferred method, but I just don't like doing laundry. And I constantly look for any way that I can prevent myself from having to do more laundry. So instead, I just really like the French press because it has, a built-in steel filter that I can clean in the kitchen without having to utilize my dishwasher at all. And I also just like that you can use it for tea and coffee. So if my husband wants coffee, he can have coffee. If I want tea, I can have tea. Just think it's a really great, useful, and versatile item to have in the kitchen. Also, I've seen people make nut milk with it and use this instead of straining the nut milk with their hands. And that is freaking brilliant. Other things I love in the kitchen, SNAPWARE. Most of these things probably aren't going to come as a surprise to you because I talk about them all the time, but they would just be my first swaps because I love them so much. SNAPWARE. I love SNAPWARE. I love that it's square. I love that it can be put in the freezer. It can be put in the oven. You can buy things to go in it. It's just one seamless process with these glass containers. I love them. It makes so much more sense to me than shoving everything inside of a mason jar. When I first started going zero waste, I was on a budget, and I made a video about that as well, which you can go check out. But I used a lot of upcycled jars, and I was using jars to try and bring sandwiches to work. I was just shoving everything in a mason jar. It didn't make any sense. It just didn't make any sense. So thankfully, my father actually bought me a set of SNAPWARE. It was very, very sweet of him, and he got it for me for Christmas. Best Christmas present because it is some of my favorite things. I can put a sandwich in here if I want to. I can put a salad in here to go to work, but also, like I said, I can also buy my groceries in it as well and even use it in the oven. So if you do want a more minimal kitchen, I think it's really important that you have items that work for multiple purposes, and that's my goal. I've never had a really huge kitchen, and even though my kitchen is very open now into the living room, it's still very small. I still only have one storage section that's about the size of this desk to put all of my things in the kitchen that I have. So SNAPWARE is a really versatile item, one of my faves. I do still love my mason jars. I mean, I still have a lot of mason jars. A lot of them I have upcycled from old jam jars. I've gotten to the thrift store, or I've had roommates save me jars from their pasta sauce, jam, anything like that. I do save a lot of the branded ones, or at least ones that have branded lids. I save them for leftovers and takeouts whenever friends and family come over for a party or something like that. If they want to take home any hummus or carrot sticks or anything like that, I fill them up with a jar that has a branded lid on it because I try to keep the ones that are in my pantry pretty neutral. So I do use a lot of mason jars. Currently, this is filled with raisins. I'm really hungry, so I'm gonna have a snack. I don't normally bring my mason jars to the grocery store though, because I find that it's really heavy and I'm typically on foot or taking public transportation. So good. Compostable dish scrubs. This is a switch that has saved me a lot of money. I have had this dish scrub now for 2.5 years, and it's just getting to the point that I probably need to replace it. But 2.5 years for one $10 scrub. I don't know of a single sponge that could do that. So I love these. They save me a lot of money. I think they're very aesthetically pleasing. Also, they don't harbor bacteria quite like a sponge, which is also really nice. And they work super well. And at the end of its life, whenever I no longer can use this, which will be very, very soon, I will just put it in my compost bin and it will eventually turn back to soil. And I think that's pretty awesome. So compostable dish scrubs. And then last on my list are Beeswax Wraps. I also really like these for taking sandwiches to work because they don't have quite the same profile as the glass SNAPWARE does. It's slimmer. You can put it inside of your backpack. Also, my husband commutes quite a bit, and so it's not really practical for him to carry that much glass on his back. It just like weighs a lot. So we also use these, and I do really, really like them. And something I think is so cool about these beeswax wraps is if you don't apply a lot of pressure, they just are like a very light amount of tacky. But if you really like ball them up and squish them up and work them in your hands and really get them warm, then they become much, much tackier. Like that is way, way, way tackier than it is if you just like lightly fold it. So in case you had beeswax wraps and you're wondering why they weren't sticking that well, that might be why. So now this is gonna stick way better than just folding it flat. See, for the heat of your hands. Super cool. I have had some larger ones that I've used to wrap bread because people are always curious how I store my bread. However, since these are natural, if you forget about your bread, then they will both grow a lot of mold and you'll ruin your beeswax wrap. So I no longer store bread this way anymore. Instead, I slice my bread and I store it in a cloth bag in the freezer, and then it'll stay good for a couple weeks, whereas sometimes I would forget about my bread. And then dogs love these. Nala has eaten about 4 sets of these before, so keep them away from dogs. Yeah, so thankfully though, when they did grow mold, I could compost them, which is always nice because typically this one's, organic cotton, and then it just is use beeswax. That way you can compost it, and it's great. So those are my 5 simple kitchen swaps. I hope that you found this really helpful and useful. I'm thinking of making this a series because obviously there's so many more swaps that you can make. Let me know if that interests you in the comment section down below. It's rainy. I've got my cup of tea. I'm feeling like a professor. I'm probably gonna go read a couple books. I mean, not a couple books, just like maybe a few chapters out of a book, because it just seems like a really nice day to get snuggly and do that. So wherever you are, if it's cold or warm, I hope that you're having a great week. Please give this video a thumbs up, press that big red subscribe button, and I will see you next week with a new video. Cheers!